Part 103. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xiaowei Niang. Chapter 1021. Chapter 1021 Ancient Song. Sunan suggested, sing. There are celebrities here who study classical dance and ballet. They have received systematic training since they were 3 or 4 years old. They have won international awards. You can't compete with them. Xiaoling was slightly unconvinced. What if I can survive? He thought she was very cute and couldn't help but touch her head. Xiaoling glared at him angrily. Don't underestimate me. Okay, I don't underestimate you. Sunan suppressed a smile, but I want to hear you sing. You have such a nice voice, so you should also sing nicely. Of course, she said proudly again, raising her delicate chin with pride, I can sing a lot of songs. When I was in the orphanage, every time I sang, a lot of people would come around to listen. Woolen cloth. Sunan smiled and said, what can you sing? She named a few songs and said, I can also arrange music myself. He said, really? Make up a song and listen to it. Since she was adopted by Peizian, her living environment has been very different from before, and she has had fewer opportunities to sing. Seeing Sunan's interest, she was very excited and planned to sing a song. What should I sing? Her clear and flowing eyes looked at the lake surface where the lotus leaves were growing slowly in midsummer. In the refreshing fragrance, she suddenly had an idea. You can pick lotuses in the south of the Yangtze River, and there are fields with lotus leaves. She sang softly, an ancient Han Dynasty music song. Once, the teacher at the orphanage taught them this poem, but now she composed it into a tune casually, and it was surprisingly clear and melodious to the pond of lotus flowers. Sunan was dumbfounded after hearing this. He had long guessed that she sang well, but he didn't expect it to be so good. The girl in front of her was clasping her knees and looking at a pond of lotus flowers. The breeze was gently blowing through her crow-green hair. Her light-colored dress was a little dirty on the gravel ground, but it had a beautiful and swaying aura. Sunan has never seen any other girl who can wear such a noble and elegant outfit so casually and so charmingly. Unknowingly, he looked at her in a daze. Her song ended with a faint lingering aftertaste. She turned her head and looked at him with a smile. Doesn't it sound nice? Ah, well, he just came back to his senses and nodded hurriedly. Not only does it sound good, it was simply the best singing voice he had ever heard. This feeling, this scene, coupled with such a heavenly singing voice, is simply a fairyland on earth. Sunan said to Xiaoling, that's great. If you participate in the talent competition with this song, you will definitely become the most talented girl in the audience. What about those rich ladies who are good at dancing and playing the piano? Who is as fresh, natural, and touching as her? Besides, the eldest ladies compete in talent every year, and the other guests are somewhat tired of the aesthetics. How can they compare to her who looked like the sound of nature in her first appearance? Xiaoling said, really? But whether you can be selected as a celebrity in midsummer is not just about this. Sunan had just explained to her the rules for selecting celebrities in midsummer, and she also found herself in front of Pei Jingyu and the others. How ridiculous it is to boast about Haikao. With her background, it's not surprising that she got the last place. Sunan shrugged, they deliberately want to see you make a fool of yourself. Even if you don't want to participate, they will definitely make you come on stage. Xiaoling, show your skills and let them see who is inferior to whom. Even if you don't win the crown of midsummer celebrity, you can't lose too badly, you have to slap them in the face. Xiaoling burst out laughing, why are you more excited than me? Sunan waved his fist in mid-air, his eyes shining, of course, I decided to help you. People say that adding icing on the cake is easy, and providing help in the snow difficult. As long as I help you in times of need, Director Pei will definitely look at me with admiration. Then my status in the family will definitely improve. Xiaoling laughed again. She didn't know whether Sunan was really naive or if he was too deep in the city to actually say these things to her so clearly. However, compared to getting along with those young ladies who hide their knives in their smiles, she prefers this upbeat young man. No matter what his purpose is, at least he is clearly good to her. "How are you going to help me?" she asked curiously. Come, come, come here." The two whispered for a while, and Xiaoling laughed softly at his words. The breeze blew slowly by the lotus pond, and the clear and melodious laughter of the boy and the girl faintly spread far away. Pei Xian sat in the pavilion with Pei Zhenyuan. Pei Zhenyuan is lecturing, "It's okay if you adopt a wild child, play with it for a few days and then throw it away, I won't blame you. But what do you mean by bringing her to the banquet? Don't you know what this banquet is for?" Pei Xian was absent-minded and stared gloomily at the lotus pond in the distance, where Xiaoling was sitting and laughing with a clean and cheerful young man. The young man dared to touch her head with his hand. Pei Xian was thinking in his mind that he would make that bold young man look good later. "Are you listening to me?" Pei Zhenyuan was very angry and scolded him. "I'm listening." Pei Xian's voice was calm and he looked away from the lotus pond. "Uncle, it's my own business to adopt Xiaoling, and it's also my own business to bring to the flower viewing party. You just need to take care of the group's affairs. That's all. As for my personal matters, I won't worry about them." He finished speaking and stood up. "I have something else to do, so I'll take my leave first." "You," Pei Zhenyuan was so angry that his liver ached. This child was getting more and more disobedient. Looking at Pei Xian's back as he strode away, Pei Zhenyuan once again felt that this grandnephew was really becoming more and more disobedient. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? He remembered his nephew's last words before he died, holding his hand and telling him, "Second uncle, Zi Hung is courageous and capable, but sometimes he is too headstrong and too young, please help him well, help him stabilize the emperor's empire," and before my nephew could finish what he said, he closed his eyes and passed away suddenly. But Pei Zhenyuan knew what he wanted to say, "Look after Zi Hung and don't let him go astray." What is a crooked path? Apart from taking good care of the family business and finding a well-known Chiyuan to get married and have children, everything else is wrong. Pei Zhenyuan sighed, remembering that when Pei Xian first took over the family business, he listened to his opinions as an independent and important minister. However, in recent years, as his power in the emperor became more and more stable, some things gradually changed. It is a good thing for young people to have their own ideas, but it is also a bad thing to have too many ideas. Pei Zhenyuan decided to use the Xiaoling incident to give Pei Xian a good beating and let him know what the tradition of the Emperor Pei family is and what family justice is. The old man was sulking here, and over there. Pei Xian had already reached the lotus pond. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1022. Chapter 1022. I don't want to be a rich second-generation dude. Facing the evening wind, he heard the chirping sounds of two children. "You think this tune sounds good, what about this?" The girl was humming intermittently while talking with a smile. It was indeed a very beautiful melody, and it was also a melody that Pei Xian had never heard before. Pei Xian's expression became darker. "Xiaoling," he greeted the girl. Ah, Xiaoling was startled, turned around and saw him, and was very happy. "Brother Pei." She held up her skirt and came forward, not caring about patting the mud on her body. "You're back. I made up a new song, and Sunan said it sounded good. By the way, this is Sunan, my new friend." The girl's eyes are sparkling. Pei Xian squatted down, patted the dirt on her body carefully, and scolded her with some affection. "Why are you just sitting on the ground? What should I do if I catch a cold?" She smiled and said, No, Sunan is protecting me from the wind." Pei Xian then turned to look at the young man by the lotus pond. When the young man saw him coming, he stood up from where he was. He happened to be standing at the wind outlet, and he indeed blocked a lot of wind for Xiaoling beside him. Pei Xian felt a little better, but still disliked him in various ways, a member of the Sun family. His deep voice made Sun An's whole body go crazy. Oh my God, I have seen terrible people, but I have never seen such terrible people. The outside world has heard that the emperor's Pei Dong is cold and cruel. When I saw him today, it turned out. How cruel. Sunan complained in his heart, wondering why the little girl next to him just smiled innocently and said, Brother Pei is the gentlest person in the world. Is it because his judgment was eaten by a dog or because was hers eaten by a dog? He looked at Pei Xian and smiled, Hello, Mr. Pei, I am Sun Zhenshuan's son. Sun Zhengxian? Isn't he the current chairman of Feiying Cinema? He was negotiating a big cooperation with the Pei family a few days ago. I never heard that his son was so annoying. Pei Xian looked at this brat once and for all, but he didn't like him no matter what. Sunan was horrified by what he saw. He didn't know where he had offended his ancestor. No, Director Pei seems to be very fond of Xiaoling. Ordinarily, since he has so much affection for Xiaoling, Director Pei should also like him. Why is he looking at his enemy from the very beginning? A certain young man was extremely depressed. However, Xiaoling on the side didn't realize it. She smiled and took Pei Xian's hand. Brother Pei, Sunan is so kind to me. He taught me how to shine in the talent competition of midsummer celebrities. He said, he wanted to let me introduce him to you. He thinks he is very capable and wants to promote business between you and the Sun family. Pei Xian frowned imperceptibly. He reached out and touched Xiaoling's head, as if to wipe away the touch Sunan had left on her long hair, and said to her softly, You go and play first, I will come over after saying a few words to Sunan. Okay. Xiaoling jumped away. Pei Xian then lowered his head to look at Sunan, and his originally friendly expression turned into something about to come. Sunan shrank his neck, feeling that something was not going well. What I dislike the most in my life is when someone approaches Xiaoling with ulterior motives, he said solemnly. Sunan complained in his heart again, Boss, how many days have you adopted her? How come it has risen to the level of the least favorite in my life? However, he finally understood where he had offended Pei Xian, and he quickly apologized and said with a smile, Misunderstanding, I really fell in love with Xiaoling. By the way, okay. Looking at Pei Xian's face secretly, he changed his words resignedly, I just wanted to get close to you, and by the way, I fell in love with Xiaoling. Xiaoling is also your name. Miss Xia. Sunan touched his nose and felt that he was extremely unlucky. He had planned everything, but he didn't expect that this man was paranoid about taking care of his children. This was not like taking care of someone who was adopted. My sister, she is just as guarded against other people as she is against her love rival. Too perverted. Sunan complained at length in his mind, and on the surface, he even flattered Pei Xian with a smile, Dong Pei, Brother Pei, they all say that he who doesn't know is not guilty, so just let me go. I have admired you since I was a child. Really, I have a lot of your posters posted in my house, so big, so tall. The young man was dancing and gesticulating, with one central thought, he was Pei Xian's big fan. Pei Xian. He hasn't heard that the Sun family has a genetic legacy of mental illness. Sunan was frothing at the mouth, and went around in a big circle to bring the topic back to Xiaoling. Xiaoling, oh no, Miss Xia, I am unfamiliar with this place. If I want to win the crown of a famous lady in midsummer, it depends on you alone. One person's votes are far from enough, right? It's different with my help. One more vote is one vote. Just nod your head and agree to the business with my family, and ask my dad to let me take charge. I promise. Beautifully done. Pei Xian. He was very worried about handing over such a big project to a jumpy thinker. The young man blinked and looked at him expectantly. Pei Zion, do you really want that business? The young man nodded vigorously, nodded vigorously. His family's situation is a little different from other wealthy families. He originally had an older brother who was raised as an heir since he was a child. Unfortunately, he died of overwork a few years ago. As the youngest son, Sunan was used to being indulged by his family since he was a child. Although he was determined to take on the important responsibility of the heir after his brother's death, his parents were afraid of being bitten by a snake for 10 years, and would rather he live in peace and mediocrity than have him. Like his elder brother, he strives to make progress, so on the contrary, he intentionally or unintentionally prevents him from intervening in too many affairs. Sunan is very sad, very sad. He doesn't want to be a rich second-generation dude. He blinked hard again, trying hard to look pitiful. Brother Pei, just promise me. For the sake of Xiaoling, Miss Xia and I playing so well. Please help me. Please be her best friend. Best friend, honey. Pei Zion felt the veins on his forehead twitching, and he deeply lit wax for the chairman of the Sun family. People said that the deceased eldest son of the Sun family was mature and prudent. Why is this second young master so out of tune? He didn't want to get entangled with this young man any longer, so he made a quick decision. If you want me to give you this business, you can. You should publicize our deal now. You vote for Xiaoling, and I will give you the business, so that more people can. The more people know, the better. Sunan immediately understood what he meant and was secretly shocked by this man's generosity. Just to pamper a girl, how much business would he have to give up this time? It is conceivable that after learning this information, many people who wanted to curry favor with Pei Zion knew what to do. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 1023. Chapter 1023. Amazing sense of music. As he was thinking about it, he listened to Pei Zion's instructions. Don't tell Xiaoling. Sunan was startled, then nodded in agreement. He discovered that the man in front of him really loved the girl to the core. He had done so much for her, but he still didn't let her know. How happy is that girl? The evening breeze of midsummer was very cool, and lamps were lit one after another in the elegant courtyard. The host of the banquet announced the start of the annual Midsummer Celebrities Talent Competition. The first person to appear was Pei Jingyu, who won the crown last year. Pei Jingyu was wearing a light white pearl light silk dress with elegant demeanor. She looked around and showed a demure smile and said, "Thanks to everyone's love, I got this title last year, so I will show my shame." She is very good at playing the piano. She won last year with her extraordinary piano music. This year, she still chose this talent that she is best at. The sweet piano sound was like flowing clouds and flowing water, making the guests feel relaxed and happy. It's like walking in a fairyland in the clouds. A noble lady turned her head and whispered to her son, "This girl from the Pei family is good, dignified and generous, beautiful and virtuous. When you listen to her piano sound, it is so peaceful and noble. When you listen to the piano, it is like just like people. A girl like this is the material to become a housewife." Her son smiled and nodded. Many wealthy families here, like this noble lady and her son, quietly observe the talent and temperament of each young lady, consider their family background, calculate and evaluate, and choose a suitable marriage partner for them. Pei Jingyu finished her song and received thunderous applause. Her watery eyes lightly glanced around, and said with a smile, "I'm embarrassed." She walked off the stage. Pei Jingshan stood up at the Pei family seat to greet her and praised, "Sister Jingyu, you play so beautifully. You must be the most famous lady of the summer this year. Pei Jingyu smiled reservedly. I can't tell, I'm the first one to come on stage. There are many talented and beautiful girls behind me. As she spoke, she glanced at Xiaoling with delicate eyeliner. Xiaoling sat next to Pei Ziyan and also sat at the Pei family table. There is no way, the entire flower viewing banquet is based on the family unit. Since Pei Ziyan and Pei Zhenyuan are a family, they are naturally arranged at the same table. If they insist on being separated, outsiders will think that there is some irreconcilable conflict within the Pei family. That would be too ugly. At this time, Xiaoling felt uncomfortable under Pei Jingyu's gaze. She snorted slightly and turned her head away. Pei Zhenyuan frowned. It was an honor for this wild girl to sit at this table. If it hadn't hindered the fact that the flower viewing party was a public place, he would have kicked this wild girl out a long time ago. Why, how dare she show off to a rich young lady like Pei Jingyu when she is good? Pei Jingshan noticed that her uncle was unhappy and was eager to show off, so she scolded Xiaoling, why are you humming? Are you dissatisfied with Sister Jingyu? Xiaoling whispered, it's none of your business. She looked very stubborn. Pei Jingyu smoothed things over in a gentle and dignified manner. Okay Jingshan, Xiaoling has just come out of the orphanage. She is not sensible, and neither are you. What are you worrying about? Prepare your program well and bring honor to the Pei family. Pei Jingshan, when she saw her cousin speaking, she quickly said, yes, although her father had some status in the family, he was not as strong as Pei Jingyu's backstage. Pei Jingyu's grandfather was the second largest shareholder after Pei Ziyan. With seniority she is old and can even vaguely compete with Pei Ziyan, but what about her, Pei Jingshan? She is simply not good enough in front of Pei Jingyu. Over the years, she has relied on fawning over Pei Jingyu to get ahead. Xiaoling looked at Pei Jingyu, then at Pei Jingshan with her beautiful eyes, and then hummed. Although she is simple-minded, there are some things that are not invisible to her. The two eldest ladies are criticizing her and arguing with her, don't they just look down on her? To be honest, she just listened to Pei Jingyu's piano and didn't find it surprising at all. Although she had never learned how to play the piano, her sense of music was amazing. Intuitively, she found that although Pei Jingyu's piano sound was beautiful, it was too craftsmanship. To put it bluntly, it was rigid and lacking in aura. Such a piano sound may become first class, but it will never be top-notch. The child couldn't hide something in her heart, so she couldn't help but pull Pei Ziyan's sleeve. Pei Ziyan lowered his head and said in a gentle voice, what's wrong? Since there was no one with a foreign surname, Xiaoling was not afraid of embarrassing the Pei family, so she asked directly in a low voice, why do they think Sister Jingyu's piano sound is good? Have they never heard real music? Before Pei Ziyan spoke, Pei Jingyu was so angry that she almost dropped her cup. What did this little beggar mean? Are you just slandering her piano sound in front of your grandfather and other sisters? That's so outrageous. This time, even Pei Zhenyuan couldn't help scolding, Zi Hung, take care of this girl you brought back. What qualifications does a wild girl have to evaluate the famous family that the Pei family spent a lot of money to cultivate? Shuyuan. This wild girl doesn't even have the most basic respect. Xiaoling was frightened by Pei Zhenyuan and shrank back, not daring to speak. When she was led to the table by Pei Ziyan, she heard Pei Ziyan introduce this stern-eyed old man and knew that he was Pei Jingyu's biological grandfather, and he didn't seem to like her very much. However, the little girl had a natural love for music. She couldn't hide the questions related to music. For a moment, she even forgot about this terrible old man, and directly asked the doubts in her heart. Pei Ziyan glanced at Pei Zhenyuan, uncle, don't scare her. Pei Zhenyuan, you have to have a limit when it comes to protecting this wild girl. Pei Ziyan's face darkened, Xiaoling is not a wild girl. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Two men, an old man and a young man, faced each other silently, seeing that a dispute was about to break out. Xiaoling's heart was in her throat. Only then did she realize that she seemed to have done something wrong. She was very worried and said softly, "Brother Pei." Pei Xian then looked away from the confrontation with his uncle and gently held her hand. "Let's go, I'll take you to another seat." Pei Xian. Big cousin. Pei Zhenyuan and the two young ladies whispered. They all underestimated Xiaoling's importance to him. He would change seats if they disagreed. You know, the seats here are all based on family units. He made it clear that he temporarily changed seats to tell others about the internal discord in the Pei family. Not to mention whether it was embarrassing or not, I am afraid that countless versions of rumors will spread immediately, saying that maybe the Pei family's stock will plummet the next day. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1024. Chapter 1024, How to Convince the Public. Pei Xian, sit down. Don't go anywhere. Pei Zhenyuan was so angry that his body was shaking, and he lowered his voice and scolded. Pei Xian's face was expressionless. Xiaoling is sitting here and feeling wronged. Of course I have to take her to a different place. Pei Zhenyuan was extremely angry. What do you want? I said, I don't want Xiaoling to be wronged. Okay, very good. Pei Zhenyuan was angry again, but he still had to swallow this breath in order to take the overall situation into consideration. He stared at his grandnephew with hatred for a long time. People said that playing with things makes one lose one's ambition. However, his originally promising grandnephew began to lose one's ambition after adopting this wild girl. I take back what I said, Xiaoling is not a wild girl, Pei Zhenyuan said while suppressing his anger. Pei Jingyu felt angry when she saw her grandfather feeling so aggrieved. How could that wild girl's face make her grandfather lose face? However, what if she is unhappy again? We can't let the cousin really leave the table. You must know that she was able to become a famous lady in the summer last year. In addition to her outstanding talent and being Pei Zhenyuan's biological granddaughter, it was also rumored that Pei Xian loved her as a cousin. Who is Pei Xian, the head of the Pei family? If a girl from the Pei family is disliked by him, no matter how good other conditions are, others will think more about it when getting married. Pei Jingyu must not let others think that she is not loved by Pei Xian, as that will affect her marriage. Pei Jingyu suppressed the unhappiness in her heart and comforted her softly, "Grandpa, cousin, we are a family, what can't we say?" Sister Xiaoling's question is not malicious. "Grandpa, please don't argue with her. Cousin, don't be angry with Grandpa. Isn't Grandpa doing it for our Pei family?" Pei Xian still looked at Pei Zhenyuan expressionlessly. "Uncle, although Xiaoling was adopted by me, since she has entered the door of the Pei family, she is a member of our Pei family. She is a serious young lady of the Pei family, with a distinguished status, and she is not here under Jingyu, Jingshan, and the others, do you think so?" This. Pei Zhenyuan was extremely angry. This brat was trying his best to force him to recognize Xiaoling's status. But, can he deny it? The situation is like this, if he even says half a word no, Pei Xian will immediately take Xiaoling to another table. "You bastard, you've gone too far." Over the past 6 months, as Pei Xian has made his country more and more stable, he gradually feels that it is becoming more and more difficult for him to control his great-nephew. On too many matters, this great-nephew has his own ideas and is not as obedient as before. Although Pei Zhenyuan understands that the young eagle will eventually fly alone when its wings harden, but Pei Xian is still too young, and it is too early to break away from the control of his elders. How could the Pei family have such a big plate and let young people do whatever they want? Today's incident seems to be a matter of Xiaoling's status. Isn't it a game between ancestor and grandson? At this point, the competition is about whose will is stronger and whose right to speak is stronger. Page Aniyuan's eyes deepened, and when he saw that his grandnephew refused to give in, he turned to look at Xiaoling. Xiaoling, the Pei family provides you with food and clothing. You should be satisfied. Don't compare yourself with Jingyu and the others in everything. They are born rich ladies, born to be nobler than most people. This is their fate. As for you, you are an orphan. Although you are luckier than other orphans, you are not a noble young lady, right? Xiaoling was a little dizzy by his words and looked confused. Pei Jingyu could see that her grandfather was planning to make this wild girl surrender first and then use the tactic of removing the fire power from the cauldron to demolish Pei Xian. She smiled and helped. Our Pei family treats you well, don't expect anything more. You have to be content. Why bother fighting for the title of eldest lady? You will be laughed at. Why are you fighting for the title of eldest lady? Xiaoling could no longer understand what they were talking about, so she glanced at Pei Xian for help. Pei Xian said to her gently but firmly, "You are the eldest lady." Yes, the little girl nodded and told Pei Jingyu and Pei Zhenyuan seriously, "I am the eldest lady." Although she didn't understand what they were talking about, what Brother Pei said was always correct. Since she is said to be the eldest lady, then she is. Pei Zhenyuan was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Who did this great nephew adopt? Does this girl have any brains? In this case, shouldn't Pei Xian be advised to obey his elders and not start a dispute with the family over her? Pei Jingyu was about to vomit blood. This little beggar is so shameless. As long as Pei Xian smiled with satisfaction, he knew that it was right to adopt this little girl. So, uncle, he clasped his fingers and looked at Pei Zhenyuan calmly, "Xiaoling is the eldest daughter of our family. She is the only eldest daughter in my adopted family." Pei Zhenyuan's heart skipped a beat. This great nephew is really getting more and more ambitious. Just now, I was just fighting for the status of the eldest lady of the Pei family for that wild girl Xiaoling, but now, she has become the eldest lady of the eldest family. Longhouse. What does that mean? This means that all the ladies in the Pei family combined are less noble and less important than her. All the other ladies must follow her lead. Which one is tolerable and which one is intolerable? Pei Zhenyuan was so angry that he slapped the table. Immediately, people from several tables nearby looked over. Pei Xian remained calm and looked at his furious uncle calmly. "Okay, you're so kind, this is outrageous." Pei Zhenyuan was so angry that he lowered his voice and scolded, "The eldest lady, right? Are you so good at being the eldest lady? How can she be so virtuous? How to convince the public?" Pei Xian's voice was warm and gentle, "She is mine, and this alone is enough to convince everyone." Pei Zhenyuan was extremely angry and laughed, "Nonsense." Pei Jingyu pretended to persuade, "Yes, cousin, if everyone is dissatisfied, why don't you put Xiaoling on the fire to roast her when you push her to such a high position? In my opinion, it's better for everyone to give in. Don't hurt your harmony. If Xiaoling can win the title of Midsummer Lady this time, the other sisters and I will recognize her as the eldest daughter. If she can't win it..." Pei Jingyu smiled. Said quietly, "The eldest daughter of the eldest daughter cannot be inferior to me, the fourth daughter of the eldest son, right?" Pei Zhenyuan's anger subsided slightly at this time, and he felt that Pei Jingyu's suggestion was a good one, as it could make the grandnephew and wild girl in front of him retreat. He said slowly, "Jingyu's suggestion is good. How can the eldest daughter of my Pei family not have any real ability? If she can't win the title of Midsummer Lady, there is no need to mention this matter, so as not to be criticized by other families. Laughing you're off." "Okay," Pei Xian said. His crisp response stunned Pei Jingyu and others. Why, is he so confident that this wild girl can win the Midsummer Lady? It doesn't make sense. They all know the selection mechanism of Midsummer's ladies. No matter how beautiful this wild girl is, no matter how talented she is, her background is a flaw. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1025. Chapter 1025. Let me sing a song for everyone. How could a young master throw flowers at her? Pei Zhenyuan just thought that Pei Xian was being tough, so he immediately decided, okay, let's do it like this. Even Xiaoling was not very confident and glanced at Pei Xian weakly. The bet between the two men suddenly made her feel pressured. Although she didn't understand what they were fighting about, instinctively, she knew not to embarrass brother Pei. Now that things have come to this, she must give her best performance, even if she has to risk everything. Pei Xian noticed her uneasiness and gently held her hand, afraid. She nodded, glanced at Pei Jingyu and others present, and shook her head. There was a hint of smile in Pei Xian's eyes, and his voice was gentle. It doesn't matter, you can perform however you want, my Xiaoling is the best. She was not confident, but she nodded seriously. Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan looked at each other and saw schadenfreude in each other's eyes. They didn't think that Xiaoling had any hope of getting the midsummer socialite. If she couldn't get it, her eldest cousin might be angry with her. When the time comes for her to fall out of favor and be kicked out of the house, it might not be a happy ending. It doesn't matter even if you can't get it, after all, your innate conditions are weaker than ours. Pei Jingyu pretended to be generous with a smile. As long as you can get a middling grade and don't embarrass the Pei family, we won't blame you. I will get first place, Xiaoling said stubbornly. Haha, Pei Jingshan couldn't help laughing. Xiaoling glared at them unhappily. If last year's midsummer celebrity was on the level of Sister Jingyu, this year's midsummer celebrity would be me. Little beggar, do you know how to appreciate it? There were some things that Pei Jingyu had to take into consideration for her noble image, and it was not convenient for her to curse, so Pei Jingshan took the lead on her behalf. Sister Jingyu's piano is top-notch. We hired a famous artist. How many years did the master have to learn to achieve what he is today? How can you not touch the piano? What are you talking about? Xiaoling has never touched a piano. However, just because she can't play the piano doesn't mean she has no sense of music. She raised her head and glanced at Pei Xian, her beautiful eyes full of doubts. Do they really think Pei Jingyu plays the piano very well? Pei Xian's eyes were filled with smile again. He seemed to be in a good mood since he adopted this little girl. Touching her soft long hair, he spoke warmly. Jingyu's piano was learned from a famous master since she was a child, but her family didn't expect her to become famous and have a family. I don't think the master's requirements for her were as good as hers. She is strict with serious pianists. Her piano sound is one of the best among aristocratic ladies, but from a purely artistic point of view, it is still not good enough. In fact, Pei Xian is busy with everything, so he can't tell whether the piano sound is good or bad. But he has many capable people under his command. One of them, a young music producer named Feng Kun, once bluntly pointed out the gap between these aristocratic ladies and real artistic masters. Xiaoling smiled. His answer let her know that her judgment was correct. But Pei Jingyu thought she was laughing at him, and her expression became slightly gloomy. For girls, it's just a matter of knowing a little bit about music for entertainment. If you don't rely on it to make a living, learning too much will make people laugh. Even Pei Zhenyuan couldn't stand it and defended his granddaughter calmly. Xiaoling whispered, treating ordinary people as first-class people is the only way to make people laugh. Pei Zhenyuan's expression turned cold. When the elders are talking, who asked you to talk back? Before Xiaoling said anything, Pei Xian had already spoken. Xiaoling is mine, and it is not anyone else's turn to scold her. Pei Zhenyuan looked at his grandnephew with anger in his eyes. I am your uncle. Pei Xian remained calm. Whoever is the emperor's chairman is the head of the Pei family. This is a rule passed down from generation to generation. Uncle, please show some respect to my people. Okay, very good. Pei Zhenyuan was extremely angry. This is outrageous. Xiaoling looked at them uneasily. Why were these two people quarreling about her again before they even exchanged a few words? Her hands gently grasped Pei Xian's sleeves, feeling as if she had caused him a lot of trouble. Pei Xian noticed her uneasiness, ignored Pei Zhenyuan, and concentrated on cutting steak for her. In front of the other guests at the flower viewing banquet, Pei Zhenyuan was really embarrassed to continue to have an attack. After staring at Pei Xian for a while, he could only get sulky. Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan looked at each other. Neither of them expected that Pei Xian would be so tough for a wild girl from an orphanage. A few people had their own thoughts and ate in silence. At the flower viewing banquet, the talent performances of the rich ladies continued. The gentle breeze in the flower pavilion near the water highlighted the beautiful figures of the girls. They are all rich young ladies raised in fine clothing and good food. They are good at piano and guhan. Some can dance beautiful classical dances, and some can paint on the spot. Everyone used their best skills. They all understand that this competition is not only related to themselves, but also a competition of strength between the families they represent behind them. How much does it cost to cultivate an amazing dancer from an early age? How much dignity do you need to hire what kind of famous teacher? And how much leisure time do girls spend on this? What kind of life does it symbolize, rich and leisurely, without worrying about worldly trivial matters? They are the face of the family. They cannot embarrass their family, nor can they embarrass themselves. Even Pei Jingshan, although she has always been modest about being not as good as her sister Pei Jingyu, her archery skills that can shoot through a tree with 100 steps are impressive. Archery has evolved into a game for the rich today. Pei Jingshanlu's hands invisibly show her extraordinary status, nobility, and composure. So when Xiaoling came on stage and said she wanted to sing, many guests felt a flash of disdain. Sing? Are you kidding me? For so many years, almost no one sang during the Midsummer Flower Appreciation Banquet for celebrities, for no other reason than singing is too unpopular. Even if a random cat or dog on the roadside can sing on the spot, it doesn't reflect the family. The financial strength to hire a famous teacher, and more importantly, he looks like an actor. An orphan is an orphan. Some guests shook their heads and sighed softly. Maybe she sings bel canto? Not everyone can sing classical opera, another guest said with a hint of expectation. How could the girl Pei Xian adopted embarrass him? Unexpectedly, before she finished speaking, she heard Xiaoling's clear and melodious voice, "Let me sing Jiangnan can pick lotus for everyone. I just made up a temporary tune. It is said to be very nice." With a clang, the guest who had just been expecting her to sing bel canto was so shocked that he ignored dining etiquette and his fork directly touched the plate. No, right? What she sang was actually a self-composed song. If it's beautiful or not, it can't be a ballad. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1026. Chapter 1026. The First Cry of the Young Phoenix. Pei Zhenyuan also felt embarrassed. Although this girl was an orphan, she represented the Pei family's face by taking the stage. Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan looked at each other, but there was an unnoticeable joy in their eyes. The more embarrassing this little beggar was, the happier they would be. It would be best not to get off the stage and be kicked out of the house by the big cousin. In the weird atmosphere, only Pei Xian looked calm. Let's not forget that he knows that she sings like the sound of nature. To put it another way, even if her singing voice is ridiculous and clumsy, he can still find a way for her to successfully win the crown of a famous lady in midsummer. Isn't it just money? Even in the entire business world, the Emperor Group is one of the largest in size, and there are few people who don't want to please and flock to it. Pei Xian clasped his fingers together and adjusted himself into a comfortable position, intending to enjoy her singing. Xiaoling stood by the waterside pavilion, her beautiful eyes scanning the silent celebrities in the audience, feeling slightly nervous. She was worried that if she couldn't sing well, she would embarrass Brother Pei. I took a deep breath and was about to start singing when I suddenly heard a young man's voice saying, "Wait a minute." Everyone turned around and saw Sunan bringing up a flute at some point. He said to Xiaoling with a smile, "Sister Xiaoling, it's so lonely to sing alone. It just so happens that I know how to play the flute, so I'll come and accompany you to entertain you." Xiaoling was slightly startled. "Are you really good at it?" "Can I lie to you?" Sunan rolled his eyes at her slightly, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that this was a joke and curse between very familiar and close friends. He said to her easily, "I just told you that I can accompany you. Do you think I'm joking? Don't underestimate me. My flute is good to everyone who has heard it." Xiaoling was amused by him, and her original nervousness dissipated. She nodded and said, "Okay." There was a commotion in the audience. Even in this flower viewing banquet where famous families gather, the Sun family is not a small family. Since the death of the eldest young master of the Sun family, the second young master has been the definite heir. With such a noble status, he would take the initiative to give it to an unknown person. Legendary orphan accompaniment? Isn't this too obvious a flattery? Someone shook his head and said to his companions, "Even if the girl was adopted by Pei Xian, the flattery is really ugly." But his companion said, "Don't you know? I heard that the Sun family theater chain has always wanted to have an in-depth exclusive cooperation with the emperor. Once successful, it will monopolize a large number of film sources. Pei Xian has not let go before, and the two parties have been talking for a long time." Unexpectedly, just now, Pei Xian relented because Sunan and the little girl were very close. The Sun family has already sent someone to get the contract urgently, and the two families will sign and seal it as soon as the flower viewing party is over. Really, the man was startled. No wonder Sunan protects the little girl so much. If such a good thing happens, I will protect her too. Not only him, but also several people around him felt sorry for her. It is said that Pei Xian dotes on the little girl. The insider added, "Do you think he adopted him casually? It is said that when he was in the orphanage, he took a fancy to the little girl's talent and planned to make her into an emperor. The leading lady of the generation. If this is the case, it is not difficult to understand why he brought this little girl to attend the Midsummer Celebrity Flower Appreciation Banquet. If she can win the title of Midsummer Celebrity in one fell swoop, it will be a good gimmick for her to debut in the future." So that's it, many people thought thoughtfully. At first, they listened to the rumors spread by Pei Jingyu and thought that Pei Xian brought Xiaoling here deliberately to embarrass her, but looking at Sun An's situation, they didn't think it was the case. Pei Xian clearly loved Xiaoling, right? Since you dote on that girl so much, why did you bring her to this party to be wronged? Unless, as the insider said, people come here just for the title of Midsummer Socialite. Crazy. At first glance it seems crazy, but if you think about it carefully, it makes perfect sense. With Pei Xian's status and power, if he wants to praise someone, is he worried about not being able to do so? Just like just now, when the Sun family relaxed a little, the Sun family's heir naturally tried his best to protect the little girl. So do other families. Many people are bowing their heads and thinking, what benefits can they get from this matter? Give your flowers to Xiaoling, the parents of big families have already said to their children and grandchildren. There are famous ladies in midsummer every year, but it is not easy to win Pei Xian's favor once. Everyone present was a smart person, and soon, many people made up their minds. Sunan's melodious flute sounded. He was really good at it. He had just listened to Xiaoling's arrangement and practiced it twice in private. Now he was able to play the accompaniment skillfully and beautifully. Xiaoling sang the song softly to the sound of his flute. You can pick lotuses in the south of the Yangtze River, and there are fields with lotus leaves. The fish plays with the lotus leaves, the fish plays with the lotus leaves to the east. The fish plays with the lotus leaves to the south, the fish plays with the lotus leaves to the west. Fish plays with lotus leaves in the north. A very short piece of Hanyu Fu, which was a simple and clean folk song in ancient times, was performed by Xiaoling to make it even fresher, as if the melodious wind from ancient times was blowing on the cheeks. At the end of the song, the aftertaste lingered. Many people were immersed in the singing and could not recover for a long time. On weekdays, they are used to hearing all kinds of grand and solemn, lively, and prosperous songs. Suddenly they heard such a fresh and moving ballad, which only used a simple flute accompaniment, which was similar to a cappella singing. They all found it refreshing. It was a very wonderful feeling. Suddenly, there was a ray of sweetness that was refreshing. It makes people unable to stop recalling and lingering. It sounds so nice. After a long time, someone murmured. I don't know who took the lead in applauding. After a while, the applause thundered. Xiaoling was wearing a light-colored dress. Standing in the breeze on the waterside pavilion, she looked like a blooming lotus. She didn't feel nervous when she sang, but she felt a little uneasy after singing. When she heard the thunderous applause from the audience, she smiled like a flower, and inadvertently surprised many guests on the spot. The song is beautiful, and so are the people. A young master couldn't help but admire it. Go, give this flower of mine to Xiaoling, another young master told the waiter standing not far away, such a sweet song is worthy of this flower. At this time, the young masters threw flowers to Xiaoling, not because of Pei Xian's face, but because Xiaoling's singing really touched people's hearts. After listening to the gorgeous performances of many aristocratic ladies, only her singing voice was like a song. The clear spring flows into the depths of people's hearts, evoking distant feelings. She deserves this flower. At the annual Midsummer Celebrity Flower Appreciation Banquet, except for the first midsummer celebrity who takes the stage, the order of performances of the other ladies is determined by drawing lots, which is also to ensure fairness. But there is an exception this year, and that is Xiaoling. The organizer has ranked Xiaoling last in the order of appearance. Who said her life experience is inferior to others? When Xiaoling finished singing, it was time for flower selection. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1027. Chapter 1027 The Proud Kitten. Many waiters have already been walking towards the Pei family's table with flowers. Pei Jingshan smiled and said to Pei Jingyu, Sister Jingyu, it seems that this year's midsummer celebrity is you. So many people come to our table, more than last year. A smile appeared on Pei Jingyu's face, pretending to be modest. No, there are 3 girls in our seats this year. Maybe they are for you or Xiaoling. After saying this, she looked very proud. Pei Jingshan held her in her arms. How can I compare to Sister Jingyu? Xiaoling? Even more, haha. Xiaoling glared at her. Yes, you are not as good as Sister Jingyu, and you are quite self-aware. But don't get involved with me if you are not as good as others. I don't think I can sing as well as Sister Jingyu plays the piano. Pei Jingshan is about to have an attack as soon as her eyebrows are raised. At this time, the first waiter had already arrived at the Pei family seat with a bouquet of perfumed lilies. He bent down and handed it to Pei Jingyu respectfully. Miss Pei Jingyu, this is given to you by Master Shike of the Zhou family. A few girls kept their mouths shut knowingly and maintained their appearance in front of outsiders. Pei Jingyu smiled gracefully and took the flower. Thank you, Master Zhou, for me. The waiter nodded to show understanding and walked away politely. Perfume lilies bloom in the sunset, their petals as white as crystal clear snow. Pei Jingyu gently smelled the fragrance of the flowers, and glanced at Xiaoling with a pair of beautiful eyes showing some demonstration. Ha, what kind of midsummer socialite does the stinky girl still want to be? Even if the song she just sang is barely listenable, is it so easy to be a socialite in midsummer? Xiaoling also looked at the bouquet of perfume lilies. Although she had just responded harshly to Pei Jingshan, she was actually very worried. If she really couldn't get the midsummer socialite this time, how embarrassing would it be? She lowered her eyes slightly to prevent others from seeing that she was not confident at all. Pei Ziyan was calm and composed, and cut the veal steak for her. Eat more, and you will have the strength to dance later. Huh, she looked at him blankly. He did not explain, but carefully sprinkled pepper on the veal steak for her. Pei Jingyu clenched her hands secretly. Xiaoling couldn't understand what she meant by that sentence, but she understood it very well. Every summer, the ladies have to dance at the dance after the dinner. Just now Pei Ziyan said he wanted Xiaoling to dance. Why is he so convinced that the crown will definitely be won by that girl? No, you are the best. The second waiter came to the table with flowers. This time, it was for Pei Jingyu. Miss Pei Jingyu, this is the calla lily given to you by the second young master of the Wang family. He said that since the flower viewing party last year, farewell, I will never forget you until now, and I hope I will have the honor to dance with you tonight. This is the person who danced the first dance with Pei Jingyu last year, the second young master of the Wang family of the jewelry tycoon. Pei Jingyu smiled gently, thank you. The demonstrative eyes flew to Xiaoling again, and Xiaoling was so angry that she took a hard bite of the steak. The third waiter came this way. This time, it was a rare blue enchantress. Pei Jingshan covered her lips and chuckled, such a beautiful flower must be given to Sister Jingyu. Although she was jealous of Pei Jingyu and a little anxious about not getting the flower, she still didn't forget to take a picture of Pei Jingyu. Flattery. Pei Jingyu smiled reservedly, at the flower viewing party last year, I told you that I liked the blue enchantress. I don't know who was so interested in sending it here specially this time. The waiter walked up to me. Pei Jingyu stretched out her hand gracefully. The waiter simply ignored her, bent down, and respectfully handed the large bouquet of budding blue enchantress to Xiaoling. Miss Xiaoling, this is a gift from the eldest young master of the Wang family. He said it was very good. I love your singing and hope to have the honor of dancing with you tonight. The eldest young master of the Wang family is the serious heir. Compared to him, the second young master is extremely weak. Xiaoling was stunned for a moment, blinked her beautiful eyes, and asked in disbelief, for me? Yes, the waiter smiled, still bending down, look, there are small cards tied to the bouquets. The flowers are sent to whom by each young master, and they are marked in the handwriting of each young master. Xiaoling then discovered that the small card in the bouquet actually had the words for Miss Xiaoling written on it, and it was signed by Wang Yunlong, a name she had never heard before. Thank you, young master of the Wang family. It was Pei Ziyan who spoke, looking down at Xiaoling, why don't you take it over? Xiaoling then stretched out her hand to pick it up. She held it in her arms full of blue enchantress, with a pleasant fragrance. This flower is so beautiful, she looked up at Pei Ziyan with joy, brother Pei, someone gave me a flower. Pei Ziyan touched her long hair gently, do you like the blue enchantress? I will give it to you every day from now on. Okay, she smiled with crooked eyebrows, feeling that she was the happiest girl in the world. Pei Jingyu's face turned pale and green at one time or another. She secretly retracted her hand in mid-air when no one was paying attention. She felt so embarrassed that she reached out to take the flowers, but it turned out that the flowers were given to the little beggar. The eldest son of the Wang family has gone too far. Is he blind? Why didn't you give yourself flowers instead of flattering that little beggar? Did he think marrying that little beggar would bring any benefits to the family? Pei Jingyu took a deep breath and another deep breath, and finally managed not to show a look of resentment. Pei Jingshan on the side couldn't help but say, really, Sister Jingyu said she liked the blue enchantress last year. Wang Yunlong was obviously there at the time, so why didn't she remember to send Sister Jingyu off? Jingshan, Pei Jingyu glared at her fiercely. Pei Jingshan then realized that she had said the wrong thing and shut her mouth in panic. Xiaoling, however, has very good ears and could hear their conversation clearly. The beautiful girl hugged the blue enchantress and laughed, "You like the blue enchantress, don't you? Ha ha ha, it's a pity that no one gives it to you. Sister Jingyu, if you don't dislike it, I will give you this bunch of mine." She proudly showed off to Pei Jingyu. Pei Jingyu got the flower she wanted so much, it was such a joy. Xiaoling was so happy that she almost stopped humming. Pei Xian looked at her indulgently. This little girl, after taking advantage of others, couldn't help but raise her tail high, like an arrogant kitten. She was so cute. He was in a good mood and cut some more pieces of meat for her. Pei Jingyu snorted stiffly, "Isn't it just a bouquet of blue witches? I just talked about it casually last year, but now I don't like it. What's so good about this kind of flower, and is it worthy of being treasured?" Yeah, what's so good about this kind of flower? Xiaoling was still proud. Some people just can't eat the grapes and say the grapes are sour. Only those who have already got the flowers are qualified to say this, right? No matter how well-mannered Pei Jing is, she can't stand it anymore. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1028. Chapter 1028 The Lady's Crown in Midsummer. What am I? The angrier she got, the happier Xiaoling became, am I right? She was so happy that she almost started humming a song. She looked around at the blue enchantress bouquet and couldn't put it down. A waiter came to deliver flowers again, this time to Pei Jingshan. Pei Jingyu took advantage of this gap to calm down. She looked at her 2 bouquets of flowers and Xiaoling's one, feeling a sense of superiority in her heart again. What about the blue enchantress? Isn't it just the eldest young master of the Wang family who will send her off alone? Just because of this, you still want to compete for the ladies of midsummer? Stop making people laugh. Without thought, I received another bouquet of flowers. Pei Jingshan just said something wrong, and now she was eager to make amends and flattered Pei Jingyu even harder. Sister Jingyu is so awesome. These are 3 bouquets of flowers. It's not like some people who are lucky enough to get one. It's amazing. Xiaoling snorted softly, are some people scolding themselves? Pei Jingshan glared at her, both of them were in a bunch, making her stop talking. Xiaoling turned a blind eye and tore the veal steak bit by bit with her white teeth, as if dealing with an enemy. There was an endless stream of waiters delivering flowers, and then there were 3 bouquets in a row, all for Xiaoling. Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan were both stunned. How could this be possible? Are all those young masters crazy? What's the point of sending flowers to this wild girl? The 2 of them looked at each other and saw surprise and uncertainty in each other's eyes. There are 4 bouquets, Xiaoling said happily. Although she didn't understand why she received so many flowers, it didn't stop her from showing off. La la la, Sister Jingyu, how many bouquets do you have? She asked knowingly. Pei Jing's tone was so loud that she almost broke the spoon. That's impossible, there must be something wrong. Haha, how could it be wrong? Xiaoling was extremely happy. She pointed to the card between the bouquets with her slender white little finger. Look, it's clearly written on the card for everyone. Pei Jingyu's face was ashen and speechless. Pei Zhenyuan, who was on the side, watched this scene with cold eyes. At this time, he finally couldn't help but said, Zi Hung, what good things have you done? Until now, if he still didn't know that Pei Xian had done something about it, that would mean all those years spent as the emperor's patron saint were in vain. Pei Xian remained calm. That kid Sunan is very discerning and sees Xiaoling's good qualities. I admire him very much. Pei Jianyuan's eyebrows twitched. How do you admire him? Pei Ziyan said calmly, I haven't agreed to sign the contract between Emperor and Eagle Cinema before because I couldn't find a suitable person in charge. I think Sunan is good. Have you agreed to the Sun family signing that contract? I'll sign it after the banquet is over. Pei Zhenyuan finally understood why those young masters rushed to send flowers to Xiaoling. The reason is simple. As long as they treat Xiaoling well, Pei Ziyan will reward them accordingly. Just send a bouquet of flowers and you can get such great benefits. No idiot would do it. Pei Zhenyuan was shaking with anger. How could you ruin the Pei family's business like this? How can it be considered a waste? Pei Ziyan didn't even frown. Uncle, the risk assessment of this business is fine, and the conditions are favorable to the Pei family, don't you think so? The contract with the Sun family, in fact, the board of directors and the board of directors had already passed the resolution and wanted to sign it. The reason why it was delayed was to endure the Sun family and strive for conditions more favorable to the emperor. Pei Ziyan is the one who controls the sense of proportion. Hearing what Pei Ziyan said, Pei Zhenyuan was speechless. I know clearly that Pei Ziyan is just fooling around, but I really can't tell the truth. Pei Zhenyuan glared at him, feeling more and more that this grandnephew was starting to get out of control. Xiaoling listened to their conversation and half understood. At this time, she asked Pei Ziyan in a low voice, Brother Pei, is this the bouquet you spent a lot of effort to get for me? Pei Ziyan smiled gently again, and said to her in a tone he had never used with others, it's nothing, those young men gave you flowers, they just like your songs. Really? She was doubtful. He touched her head and no longer dwelled on the topic. His doting on her was seen by several other members of the Pei family. Pei Jingyu was envious and jealous. How long had she seen her cousin treat other sisters so well? It turns out that it's not that he can't be kind to others, it's just that he can't be kind to them. Xiaoling is really annoying. The more annoying thing is yet to come. As more and more waiters came to deliver flowers, Xiaoling's bouquets also increased. On the contrary, for Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan, the number of bouquets has not increased much, and is not even as good as that of other famous ladies. It's no wonder that now the entire venue knows that to curry favor with the Pei family, they have to send flowers to Xiaoling. Those who want to get close to the Pei family naturally know what to do. This also caused Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan's harvest to be far less than in previous years. The two eldest ladies were so angry that they didn't even look good. If they hadn't paid attention to their manners as a rich young lady, they would have thrown the table and left. The flower delivery session came to an end, and the organizer came to count the bouquets received by the daughters. The total number was surprising. It turned out that Xiaoling had the most. The amount far exceeds the second place's daughter. This year's summer socialite is a new face. The organizer said in a surprised and congratulatory tone, she is Miss Xiaoling from the Pei family, congratulations. All the guests turned towards the Pei family's table. Regardless of whether it was false or pretentious, they all clapped politely and congratulated Xiaoling on winning the crown. The music started, and a group of messengers walked towards Xiaoling, holding a delicate tray with a corolla woven from various flowers. Xiaoling's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise, and she looked at Pei Ziyan in disbelief, it's really me. Pei Ziyan looked at her gently, it's you. Her eyes were sparkling, like the stars in the sky. Great, she finally got the head start among the ladies of midsummer, and she didn't embarrass Brother Pei. In the spotlight of everyone, she sat with perfect posture and let the waiter put the crown made of flowers on her head. She was born extremely beautiful, and after wearing the flower crown, she became even more dazzling. For a while, many guests could not take their eyes away. This girl was so beautiful, like a streak of beauty in the sky, the brightest star. No one can stare at it. I really want to dance with her now. The speaker was Wang Yunlong, the eldest young master of the Wang family. When he originally gave the blue enchantress a gift, he asked the waiter to convey just polite words out of etiquette, but at this moment, looking at Xiaoling, who is more beautiful than all the ladies present combined, she is really. My heart is pounding. However, the young masters were excited, but many of the famous ladies and daughters present were not well. How could a wild girl win the crown? Where does this put the faces of these eldest ladies? Actually, the cover has not been changed. The cover was changed a long time ago. Maybe some ports were updated recently. If you think it doesn't look good, I'll change it when I have time. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1029. Chapter 1029 The First Dance. Especially Pei Jingyu and Pei Jingshan, sitting on the seats felt like sitting on pins and needles. The eyes of the whole audience were focused on them, as if they were laughing at their failure. That's it for other wealthy ladies. The failure can be attributed to their family's power and status are not as powerful as the Pei family, but what about the two ladies of the Pei family? Although they belong to the same family, the orthodox bloodline was actually defeated by an adopted girl. How shameful is this? Even Pei Jingyu, who has always been known for being noble and dignified, could not hold back her face. However, she had to work up 100,000 nerves to straighten her back, and even put a generous and decent smile on her face to prove that she was not jealous of her sisters. Pei Jingshan didn't have such self-restraint as her, so she muttered bitterly, "What's the big deal?" Before she finished speaking, Mr. Pei Zhenyuan flew towards her with a dagger in his eye, almost cutting her into pieces. No matter what kind of grievances and hatreds there were behind closed doors between the Pei family members, when facing the outside world, they were all one. Why is this girl Jingshan so ignorant, showing off in front of so many guests at the banquet? Pei Jingshan was startled by Pei Zhenyuan and did not dare to speak nonsense. Pei Jingyu was also filled with resentment in her heart. This sister is so embarrassing. She has always regarded herself as the most distinguished young lady of the Pei family. In this case, she naturally wanted to save the face of the young ladies on behalf of the family, so she could only swallow her anger and say to Xiaoling, "Congratulations, Xiaoling, for getting the title of Midsummer Lady. I'm very happy for you." Xiaoling was slightly startled. When did this young lady with eyes as high as her head become so generous? However, it is always a good thing for someone to congratulate her. She smiled like a flower and thanked Pei Jing. Pei Jingyu glanced at Pei Jingshan lightly. "Jingshan, why don't you quickly congratulate Sister Xiaoling? She was very gentle and dignified as an eldest sister." Pei Jingshan was unwilling to give in, but looking at Pei Jingyu's faintly stern eyes, she did not dare to disobey. She bit her lip and was silent for a second, then reluctantly said, "Congratulations, Xiaoling." Xiaoling smiled brightly. Under the interweaving night lights in the small garden, she was as beautiful as an elf in a dream. "Thank you Jingshan, thanks to your permission this time, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get the Midsummer Lady so smoothly." The conscience of heaven and earth, she really didn't mean to be angry with Pei Jingshan and the others, but she had seen too few big scenes, and could only say these two words of thanks over and over again. What concession! Pei Jingshan and Pei Jingyu were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Was this wild girl mocking them? What a deception! Pei Jingshan's face became tense again, and she said bluntly, "I'm going to the bathroom." He got up and left the table. Many guests at the scene saw the scene and couldn't help but shake their heads secretly. Miss Jingshan of the Pei family is not very well educated. She can't stand up when she encounters a slight depression. She doesn't seem to be a good match. Several wealthy families who were considering marrying into the Pei family silently crossed out Pei Jingshan from their lists. Here, Xiaoling has already put on a flower crown. The organizer smiled and said to her, "Congratulations, Miss Xia. Then, as usual, you will nominate a male guest for the first dance tonight. Who will you nominate?" Huh? Xiaoling blinked, confused. She has never learned to dance at all. Oh no, she has learned to dance, but it is all self-taught performance dances performed by one person. She has never learned to dance as a couple at all. She looked at the host a little helplessly, and then at Pei Ziyan beside her. Pei Ziyan stood up and took her arm gracefully. "Let's go." The whole crowd was in a commotion. Why, Director Pei wants to dance with her in person. Although there have been precedents for famous ladies in midsummer to dance with their fathers and brothers, but for a cold and unsmiling person like Pei Ziyan, let alone dancing, even dancing is hard to come by, right? The moon comes out in the west today. How much favor does this little girl have to let this great dance with her? Xiaoling was also flattered by the various looks, but she was more worried. "Brother Pei," she called softly as she walked along the seats in the small garden to the dance floor. Pei Ziyan stopped and looked down at her. Huh? She moved her lips slightly, glanced around with some concern, but hesitated to speak. The tall man bent down, lowered his head, and leaned close to her cheek. Xiaoling stood up on her tiptoes slightly, covered her mouth in his ear, and whispered, I can't dance." A smile flashed in Pei Ziyan's eyes. He reached out and touched her head lovingly. Without a word of explanation, he led her and continued walking forward. She was even more uneasy, but firmly believed that he would not harm her, so she followed obediently. "What are they talking about?" other guests whispered in the small garden. "Did you notice that Pei Dong and that girl look so beautiful together, just like a painting?" "Isn't it?" another guest said. "It's not common for people to be able to stand beside Dong Pei and not be overshadowed by their glory. Let alone us, even the old man Pei Zhenyuan of the Pei family, the old man of the Wang family, many big he and the rich ladies, all look dim when standing next to him. But this girl has such ability. She may look timid, but when she stands next to him, her presence is not weak at all. No wonder Pei Dong wants to cultivate her into a new generation of emperors," someone suddenly realized. Others nodded with sympathy and couldn't help but look forward to their dance. Pei Ziyan took Xiaoling's hand and walked to the open-air dance floor full of lilacs and mimosa flowers. Under the starry sky, he gently held her waist with one hand and whispered, "Relax and just follow my steps." Even if she can't dance ballroom, so what? His dancing skills have been rigorously trained since he was a child. As a gentleman, leading people is a basic skill. Sure enough, when the music started playing, he skillfully led her to the depths of the dance floor. The bright starlight shone on the two of them. She was nervous at first and stepped on his foot, but he calmly guided her patiently. A wild girl is a wild girl. At some point, Pei Jingshan, who claimed to be going to the bathroom, returned to her seat and looked at Xiaoling on the dance floor with disgust. "My cousin danced so perfectly, how could he lead a loser like her? What a pity." Pei Jingyu finally found an excuse to scold her. "You still dance at this level? It's really an embarrassment to our Pei family." What she said seemed to be right. From far and near, many ladies at the seats were laughing and talking to each other. "Look at that Xiaoling, she has never learned to dance, right? She has stepped on Director Pei several times. That is, Dong Pei has good manners and doesn't care about her, otherwise, she will definitely make a fool of herself. Even so, I don't know what Director Pei was thinking about dancing with such a wild girl. Yingying just arrived in XJ today and found that the network here 555 is hard to describe. Anyway, I spent half an hour researching before connecting. Everyone has been waiting for a long time." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1030. Chapter 1030 Perfume and Silk Scarves. Xiaoling was already confused, but she became even more confused when she heard the whispers of the guests. She accidentally stepped on Pei Ziyan several times. Pei Ziyan noticed her nervousness and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Ignore them." She took a deep breath and nodded. "Tell yourself, Xiaoling, concentrate, don't let those people underestimate you." Holding her breath, she used all her talents to feel the music in the air and Pei Ziyan's dance steps with her whole body, every tentacle of her soul, and every cell of her body. Soon, the whispers around her were far away from her. Go, leaving only the beautiful accompaniment and his gentle eyes in her world. She is born with an excellent sense of music, and once she is immersed in it, she can learn to dance very quickly. With almost miraculous speed, her dancing postures were quickly in sync with Pei Ziyan's. Her skirt was flying, spinning and shining under the starry sky, like an elf enjoying a carnival. The depths of Pei Ziyan's eyes were once again filled with an imperceptible smile. He knew that she could do it, she would definitely be able to do it. She is the child he brought back with his own hands. She will not embarrass him. It only takes half a dance for her to master the double waltz that other ladies take a long time to learn. He took her cruising and spinning, becoming more and more comfortable, and they fit together perfectly like clouds and flowing water. Heaven! Many guests on the dance floor were shocked. What did they see? The girl who was so clumsy just now that she stepped on her partner several times became a master in just half a song. How can you see any traces of a beginner on her body now? She raised her head slightly, half closed her eyes, facing the starry sky and night wind, and wanted to spread her wings and fly. Even many Shiyuan from famous families who have practiced for many years can't dance as well as she does. The voice that had been mocking her just now stopped at some point, and the whole place fell into silence, everyone looking at this little miracle in disbelief. If it can be said that the Midsummer Celebrity Show in previous years was a ritual that everyone was already familiar with, then this year's Midsummer Celebrity Show brought them too many surprises. Yes, it's a surprise, not a pleasant surprise. Maybe it was a surprise for some people, but for the vast majority of the ladies at the scene, being slapped in the face by a mean girl who was killed out of thin air was definitely not a pleasant thing. The eldest ladies looked at each other, and they all saw unwillingness and disgust in their eyes. It only takes one banquet and one dance to make so many people jealous, and Xiaoling is unique. With everyone's thoughtful eyes on them, Xiaoling and Pei Ziyan finished their first dance. He took her hand and greeted everyone, and then took her back to the seat. The second dance music started, and other guests came down to the dance floor one after another. Pei Ziyan handed Xiaoling a glass of lemonade. "You must be tired." She took it with bright eyes. "I'm not tired. It's fun to dance the waltz." "You like it?" he asked. "I can dance with you again." "Is it okay?" She became delighted and said repeatedly, "Brother Pei, you are so good, he is a gentle gentleman and an excellent dance partner. Dancing with him makes people feel relaxed and happy. Every move he makes is ability to take good care of female companions accurately and thoughtfully." Pei Ziyan held her hand and entered the dance floor again. Tonight, they are the most eye-catching couple on the dance floor. Even though everyone present is dancing well, they are still the most elegant and beautiful couple that people can't take their eyes off. With his support, she became the most dazzling girl in the room, a midsummer socialite, and she deserved the title. The banquet was held very late, and when it ended, everyone remembered one name: Xiaoling. She is the starlight in the night sky and the everlasting rose in the world. This party was also very tiring. After the party, she fell asleep in their bedroom. Pei Ziyan was in good spirits. He arrived home at 1 o'clock in the morning, took care of her to sleep first, and then went to the study to handle official duties. He took a 2-hour nap at dawn, then washed and showered, changed into a clean suit, and went to the company in high spirits. The emperor's plate was too big. Even a seasoned veteran would find it difficult to take charge of such a business giant. What's more, he was a young owner who had only officially taken over the company for 2 or 3 years. Zhu Xiaokuyu, his life is not easy. In addition to dealing with complicated daily affairs, you also have to deal with all kinds of conspiracies and tricks used by people with ulterior motives, which are exhausting and exhausting. Meet Chu Chen in the company. The right-hand man, who had been on a business trip to Paris for more than half a month, saw him. The first thing he said was, "Boss, you have lost weight." Pei Ziyan glanced at him, "Is it so obvious?" Chu Chen laughed, "My mother told me to stew red ginseng and black chicken soup tonight. I will send you some. Also, when I went to Paris this time, I brought a few gadgets, such as perfume and silk scarves, which are all on the market. It's a rare money, it's good to give it away." He is his confidant. Although he is not a roundworm in his stomach, he is also quite good at figuring out what is best for him. The little things I picked out are all ones that little girls will love, so it's obvious who to give them to. Pei Ziyan saw through his thoughts and did not blame him. There are so many emperors, but you are the only one who dares to use this intention. Chu Chen smiled just right, "They are all afraid of you. You are not afraid." "Me?" Chu Chen smiled again, respectfully but not unhurriedly, "Of course I'm afraid that I won't be able to do what you told me, and I'll live up to your kindness." Pei Ziyan waved his hand and let him go down. At night, he brought the silk scarf home and saw that she was still sleeping soundly on the bed, so he put the silk scarf beside her pillow. He went to take a bath, put on a bathrobe and came out. He saw that she had woken up at some point and was fiddling with the silk scarf curiously. He stood a few steps away and looked at her for a while. She was so beautiful, her ivory white skin seemed to glow under the light, and her long soft hair was draped over her bare shoulders, which was extremely tempting. Even though she is still a child, she looks more charming than many girls. Pei Ziyan was startled by his own thoughts. What happened to him? He frowned, shook off the unwanted thoughts in his mind, and coughed lightly. She turned her head, just like she did every time she saw him, and shouted happily, "Brother Pei." She grabbed the soft silk scarf, got out of bed and ran to him. "Did you put it next to my bed?" "Well, it's for you," he said, reaching out to gather her pajamas and hanging the silk blouse that had fallen on her arms back on her shoulders. His fingertips accidentally touched her round shoulders, feeling as soft and beautiful as milk. She didn't realize anything. She raised her face and smiled and asked, "Wow, is it really for me? It's so beautiful." Looking at her happy face, his mood improved. No matter how tired he was at the company these days, as long as he came home and saw her smile, it felt like all the fatigue would be swept away. Chu Chen brought it back when he went to Paris on a business trip. "He gave me a silk scarf and a bottle of perfume," he said. "The silk scarf matches you very well." End of this chapter.